Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Sweet Spot Global Leadership Summit, where we are talking all week about how visionary organizations and their leaders can thrive from the inside out. And I'm super excited to be bringing my friend and the lovely Anna Roby back again this year. Anna, welcome. Welcome. So great to have you here again for the second summit.
Thank you so much for having me back, Sarah. It's great to be here.
And so for everyone, if you don't know Anna, I've actually got to know her through a mutual business coaching program that we were in together. And then I've also actually had the opportunity to be a client of Anna's this past year. And the work and the transformation she's helped me create has been amazing. So perhaps we'll touch on that a little bit more. But I guess I'd like to introduce Anna to you first. So Anna is on a mission to change how people approach nutrition to support physical and mental well-being in pursuit of personal best. And that's really going to tie in well to what you're sharing with us today, all about leadership and nutrition. And is passionate about helping people better understand their bodies and how to fuel them to get the most out of work and life. And as the only combined PhD/registered dietitian in the world with all Ivy League degrees, which is quite the, the achievement. She specializes in sports performance nutrition. Dr. Anna understands how nutrition impacts athletic performance and health. And today we'll be specifically talking about how it impacts leadership performance, which I think is also so crucial. I kind of think of leaders as brain athletes in a way. So Anna also enjoys working with clients through her private practice, where she helps people confidently fuel their bodies by leveraging their physiology and nutrition to achieve what they never thought was possible, which is why I'm so excited that you're here today, Anna, to share your wisdom and really talk to us about how important it is to be nourishing ourselves so that we can really be nourishing our leadership. So wondering if you'd just like to kick that off and share with us about your thoughts today.
Yeah, no, so I think it's really interesting when you look at performance as a whole, because I seem to specialize in a lot of athletes, but I also work with a lot of leaders and kind of high career oriented individuals as well, like yourself. And you might think that they're drastically different, but in fact, they're quite similar. And there's a lot of overlap between athletic performance and kind of career leadership performance as well.
Interesting. Okay. I've thought that, but it's interesting to have that perspective as well from you. Yeah.
Yeah, both of these types of people, they're high achievers. They have, high goals and expectations, and they really want to do their best. And what they're asking for me is to say, how can I really fuel my body so I can do what I want to do and kind of be the best I can at whatever it is, and not be held back by, fatigue or brain fog or, joint pain or whatever that kind of thing is physically that might be holding them back from achieving what they really want to do. So I started to realize this as we kind of got into the pandemic, when I had a lot of my athletic clients who also have day jobs and kind of high career people. And they started to come to me for different reasons. Instead of, I need to do this marathon, it's, I need to get through this week because I have a big board meeting coming up, or I have a launch that I'm trying to prepare for. How can I not be so tired? How can I feel energized? How can I not have these, mood swings or hunger pangs or whatever it is that they were facing? And so I think it's really interesting how we have these two seemingly very different types of people are really going after the same goal, and that is to physically feel well so that they can not be held back and to pursue what it is that they're trying to achieve.
I love that. And that's something that I've seen personally in my own work. If I don't eat properly, then through the afternoon or even the morning, it's distracting me. And if I've not eaten before a meeting and when I should have, and then I'm not at my, these things can be very disruptive in our day-to-day behaviors if they're not sorted out, and so that's really why I felt it was important to have you here in this leadership summit to talk about this piece. Because I know when it is working, then you can totally be at, your full best self. So I'd love to hear more about how people can achieve that, or, maybe some common challenges or whatever tips you have for us around this today.
Yeah. So when we think about leaders, they're really high achieving people, or they're aspiring to be high achievers, right? You have people who are looking to you for advice and to guide them through whatever it is, whether that's, a business, a team, whatever that looks like. And so you've got to be kind of on your A game as a leader and make sure you're physically feeling well. So like you said, you're not being held back by those things, because your job as the leader is to lead and support the people who are looking to you instead of just getting through the day, or, you're so hungry, you can't function. So when we take a look at what does it mean to kind of nourish your body as a leader, we have to start with the foundation, which is make sure you're getting enough energy. And calories is energy. And you might think, well, I'm working a lot, I'm not exercising maybe as much as you'd like to, and you still need to nourish your body. Your body still needs energy, even if you're not taking time to be as physically active as you might like, because that's something we see with a lot of leaders is they're so busy at work, maybe they're not taking as much time to exercise or be active as they would like. But you still need to make sure you have enough energy. Your brain alone needs about 120 grams of carbohydrates per day. That doesn't include any other. Yeah, so that doesn't
That's
include
more than
any
I
other.
would have expected. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so you see some of these diets that are recommending really low calorie intake or low carbohydrate intake, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see, maybe I'm not going to feel spectacular if I'm limiting my carbohydrate intake or my energy intake, because that's what my body needs to function. So when you take a look at kind of the totality of it, the energy is what's going to fuel your body. And so making sure that you are giving your body the energy it needs to properly function. So I recommend people eat every 3 to 4 hours ish, and not going really long periods of time without eating. So kind of the cutoff would be about 5 hours. And this is because we can store about 5 hours worth of energy in our liver. Okay. And once that's used up, so that's called glycogen, and it's just stored carbohydrate in our liver. And so let's say you eat a nice breakfast and then you're going about your day, meetings, working, whatever, you're burning up that glycogen, and we have about 5 hours worth. And once we get to the empty, right, once our tank is drained, that's when we get into what I call primal hunger, and we start to get a little hangry. And that's because our bodies basically run out of that stored energy. And so that's when we start to maybe feel a little tired, fatigued, maybe brain fog. We might get a little short-tempered. And so as a leader, we want to make sure that we have kind of some sustained energy. So having, complex carbohydrates, some whole grains is nice. You obviously don't have to eat all whole grain. I certainly don't. But if you can get some of them as a whole grain, that's going to be helpful, because it will kind of slow the release of carbohydrates into your system, so we don't get this quick spike and crash. So things like oatmeal, quinoa, whole grain bread, things like that are going to be really helpful for kind of that sustained energy. And then also listening to your body, right? If you are hungry and it's not your time to eat, your body's telling that you need energy. So you should listen to that, right? Like if you have to go to the bathroom, you don't think, well, I just went 2 hours ago, I shouldn't have to pee, I'm just going to hold it.
Right.
We're like, I have to excuse myself, go to the bathroom and come back, right? So we listen to these other kind of natural physiological cues, but the way that our society is kind of structured itself, we think that it's okay to ignore hunger, when really it's just our body trying to tell us, hey, I need some more energy. And if you're having kind of more consistent meals and snacks throughout the day, you'll notice that you don't have these big energy swings and kind of spikes and crashes that you might if you're going long periods of time without eating. So having some balanced meals is another way to kind of support that. So by balanced, I mean having a source of protein. So some kind of meat, fish, dairy, beans, nuts, tofu, some sort of protein source. Fat is also really helpful. This helps to keep us full longer. So it slows digestion. So it's a lot more satisfying meal or snack. So things like nuts, seeds, cheese, those types of things are going to be great sources to help keep us satisfied. And then finally, carbohydrates, which are pretty easy. This could be fruit, crackers, bread, whatever you like. And if you can kind of check those 3 boxes at your snack or your meal, you're probably good to go in terms of a satisfying meal or snack. So that's something that I tell my clients is sit down to eat something, whether it's a snack or a meal, ask yourself, do I have a source of protein? Do I have some fat? And do I have some carbohydrates? And then if you can check those boxes, you'll likely feel much better than if you're just having one thing, like an apple, for example. Can you pair that
that's
with
been a problem of mine. Yeah, an apple, I eat it and it feels like it should do it, and it's not quite filled all of those, like you said, the check boxes. And So it explains why I felt like I've eaten, but I've not eaten at the same time, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, if we eat, an apple's a great example, you might feel physically full, like your stomach is full or stretched, but you still feel hungry, which can be kind of a strange scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why our stomachs have energy density sensors, and they can kind of sense, hey, I have, volume, but I don't have that energy density that I really need to make you feel satisfied. So adding, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but string cheese, some nuts, some peanut butter, adding some kind of fat and protein to go with your fruit or your crackers or something like that will just give it a lot more staying power.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's something I know personally I've struggled with for years, and I'm now in my 40s, and I'm still just feel like I'm learning and growing these techniques, and especially when we're busy in that kind of work day, it can be easy to not meet those needs, right? To think that you're doing it but not fully. That's what I found for sure. And so I appreciate you kind of breaking it down so clearly, to think, even in a snack, we still want to hit all of those aspects if we can.
Yeah. And a lot of us as leaders tend to deal with perfectionism. We want things to be perfect. And so we think, well, if I can't have, a salad with grilled fish and quinoa, I'm not going to eat, right? Like, I'd rather not eat than, have something that's less than perfect. And that is something that really holds a lot of people back, is we have to kind of shelve the perfection and say, like, okay, I'm stuck at the office, for example, it's takeout or not eating dinner, get the takeout. Nothing in our food supply is going to harm you as much as under eating or under fueling. So, there's a lot
that's a good point. Yeah.
There's a lot of fear mongering around certain ingredients or products, that are really unhealthy. And it's like, we have the safest food supply in the world. There's nothing in there that is going to harm you at, one meal's quantity. So if you do get in a pickle, don't beat yourself up for having to get a snack from the vending machine or, getting takeout or something, because it's really going to help your body more than if you're just not eating.
Thank you for that. That's a good point as well, because we can get, I think, these sort of traps, brain traps, or whatever you want to call them, can really get in the way and then hinder performance, hinder how we feel. We go home at the end of the day feeling miserable because our poor bodies have been like barely nourished the whole day. So yeah, I really appreciate those points. And also from a personal perspective, it's nice to hear that I'm not the only one experiencing these things. I didn't think so. And so it's great to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah. And so I think, keeping that in mind and kind of going back to the whole energy aspect is, your body is going to get energy from foods. And so I am not against coffee. Coffee is a great, actually it's a great source of nutrients. There's a lot of antioxidants in coffee, but instead of relying on caffeine to get through the day, maybe you just need more literal energy, right? More calories to help give you that energy that your body needs, instead of relying on stimulants to get through the day. So enjoy your coffee, but if you feel like you have to have it to get through the day, maybe try having a snack, and eating breakfast too, I think is really important, just to kind of start your metabolism and to really give your brain the nutrients that it needs to function properly. We would never expect our car to go as fast as possible on an empty tank, and our bodies are no different, right? They need the energy and the fuel in order to function. So coffee is not breakfast. Coffee is not a meal. Enjoy it, but make sure you're having something with it to kind of support your body and its needs, instead of just trying to get by on liquids.
Yeah, well, that's maybe something I wonder if we can talk about a little bit more. I've always been a breakfast person. I wake up, I'm hungry, so I don't mind eating, but I know a lot of people struggle with eating breakfast. I don't know if you have any sort of tips on that.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people don't eat breakfast for one reason or another. And it's something that I try to encourage my clients to do, just because breakfast and early morning, that's when your body is most metabolically receptive to food. So when we first wake up, we have the greatest insulin sensitivity and glucose tolerance, which just means our body is able to kind of metabolize carbohydrates as well as possible at that time in the day. And then it starts to kind of wane throughout the day. So having something small in the morning might be helpful. If you don't have an appetite, have a little bit of something. And if you can be consistent with it, you can actually train your body to kind of expect food at that time. So then you can start to generate an appetite. So for example, if you want to eat breakfast at 8 a.m., eat at 8 a.m. for a few days until you start to notice, yeah, you know, I do start to kind of get hungry at that time, because that can really help encourage you to eat more as well. Because I have a lot of clients who they wake up and they're like, I'm not hungry, food doesn't sound good. But the problem is then they wait, you know, later in the morning or even until lunch, and then they're really behind energetically, nutritionally for the day. And it's not quite as easy as just eating more later in the day.
Right. So, I imagine it'd be hard to sort of catch up almost.
It is. Yeah. And it can also predispose you to greater hunger later in the day. So for example, if you're eating, they've done studies on this showing that like, if you eat 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., for example, that is going to be much more satisfying than if you eat the same energy, let's say the same meals and snacks, noon to 8 p.m. And again, that ties back to that whole kind of metabolic sensitivity, glucose tolerance earlier in the morning. So we can really kind of help minimize hunger by eating a nice quality big breakfast. And then that can kind of help to keep you more satisfied throughout the day, so that, you know, yeah, you're still going to need a snack likely, but it's not like this grit your teeth, I'm ravenous kind of hunger that you might experience later in the day.
So you're almost, it sounds like you're being more efficient with the food and kind of evening out maybe the need a little bit more if you're eating
exactly
early. Okay.
Yes. And so that can be really helpful, especially if you're someone who struggles with hunger, you know, mid-afternoon into the evening. I have some clients who, you know, they'll have a tiny breakfast, a modest lunch, and then by, you know, 2 or 3 p.m., they're just so hungry because they're really behind energetically. So then 3 to 10 p.m., it's just kind of a constant feeding frenzy. So,
right. Okay. And I can't imagine that's helpful if we're trying to do work hours that don't align with that window too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the other thing too is there's nothing wrong with having something like that's really easy to take for your breakfast if you don't have a big appetite. Smoothies are great because you can really pack a lot in there without having to like actually chew something.
Right.
So there's a pretty big difference between smoothies and juice too, which I want to mention. So juice is, you know, basically when it's just the liquid from the fruit or the vegetable, but when it's a smoothie, it's the whole food that's been just liquefied. And so when you keep the whole food, you're keeping a lot of the nutrients. There's a lot of nutrients, there's fiber. And so this is going to be much more beneficial to have a smoothie than just a juice. If you just have like a juice, you're probably going to be pretty hungry right afterwards because there's nothing to slow the digestion. There's no fiber, there's no protein or fat. So your blood sugar is going to go up and then it's going to come right back down. And that's when you're going to feel hungry, tired, etc. So having a smoothie would be a great option. Some fruit, some yogurt, or like a protein powder. You could put nuts or seeds or like peanut butter in there and just blend that. So that way you can take it with you if you need to, and you can kind of sip on it over the course of a half an hour or whatever. But that way you're still getting kind of those real foods in and you don't feel like you're having to really like eat breakfast that way.
That's a great suggestion, but you're getting more perhaps than just not eating anything, right? So that,
exactly.
That's great. And I really appreciate your specific details about a smoothie with nuts or seeds or, you know, like a nut butter or something. Those types of things I think make such a difference. And there's so many options and so much information out there about how you can do your eating. And I appreciate your specific perspective on it. And I really respect your approach on the whole nourishing ourselves properly, like giving our bodies what we truly need to do well. So I'm just wondering, this is a great conversation and I'd love to chat for hours, but I'm wondering if there's any kind of final thoughts that you think people need to know today on this topic.
Yeah, I think the thing to remember is that as a leader, you've really got to take care of yourself and your body first. And so many of us, especially women, are pretty selfless and we seem to put everyone first kind of before ourselves. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others as well, or sometimes at all. So making sure that you are taking time to give your body the energy, the nutrients that it needs, a nap, whatever that looks like. So that way you can be a more effective and a better leader, I think is really important. So, you know, you deserve to take care of yourself and being a good leader takes energy, literally from the form of food, but then, metaphorically, so you can have that energy to go, to be enthusiastic in meetings, to help and support your teams that you're leading. And I think it's, just a good reminder that we've got to take care of ourselves first.
Absolutely. Well, I love that message, and I so appreciate you sharing with us today some actual techniques and approaches of how to make that happen, so we can be our energetic, inspired selves as much of the time as we can, and that nutrition piece isn't holding us back. So I'm just wondering how people can follow you or get to know more about you, Anna. If you want to share your information, I'll link everything below, of course.
Sure. So if you want to reach out to me, my website is just dranaroby.com. And there's a form on there. You can email me. I'm also on Instagram at Dr. Anna Roby if you are curious and want to connect that way. So there's lots of ways we can get in touch.
Awesome. And then we also have a freebie that you are sharing as an addition to this, the top foods for brain function. So I'm wondering if you can tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is just a quick little PDF that I put together for everyone here that has just some foods that are really going to help your brain function well. And as a leader, that's one of the most important things, is that we have proper brain function. And so this is something that you could just print out, throw on your fridge, put by your grocery list, whatever that is, just to kind of help encourage you to get some other foods in that are going to help you be your best self.
Love it. It's so helpful, Anna. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your expertise with us. I'm sure everyone's going to love this content. And just want to say thanks again for being our summit speaker again this year. It's been awesome to hang out and to chat and to get to know some more of your tips today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah. Appreciate it.